Let's now shift our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on Gravitas tonight. Now remember, today is of course the 15th of June. It's exactly 3 years since the gruesome clash that took place at the Galwan Valley. The first deadly skirmish between India and China in over 5 decades. The clash has resulted in the loss of 20 lives of Indian Jawans from the 16th Bihar Regiment. Now, the Chinese also lost a number of soldiers, but as is the habit with the Chinese People's Liberation Army, it chose not to disclose the number of Chinese soldiers who ended up losing their lives. But later it emerged that China had ended up losing anywhere from 40 to 45 of its soldiers. But remember, the Galwan clash was not fought with any sophisticated weapons. It was fought with sticks and stones, and the Chinese had come prepared with barbed wire that was wrapped around iron rods. And the Chinese government only acknowledged about its casualties much later, and it said that it lost only about 3 of its soldiers. But that clash was a wake-up call. Now, these clashes have led to the ongoing standoff, which has now reached its 4th year now. The winds of change have swept the region on both sides. So what sort of changes have taken place since the Galwan Valley? Now, in the next few minutes, we'll discuss as to what has happened and what has changed at the line of actual control. And let me begin with India. The kind of changes that India has undertaken to tame the Chinese dragon's aggression at the line of actual control. Irrespective of what the Chinese may say verbally, the fact is how the Chinese behave at the border is crucial. And India has made it a point that it will take the Chinese not at their word, but on the basis of their actions. So to deal with the Chinese challenge, India has increased its troop strength along the line of actual control. You see, until China provoked India and moved troops near the LAC, the Indian army had used to guard the Ladakh region with just a division worth of about 15,000 soldiers. But ever since the Galwan clash, the troop strength by India has been more than tripled. There are now more than 2 divisions, or at least about 50,000 Indian soldiers, along with supporting elements, have been stationed at the LAC. Secondly, the reorientation of the strike corps. You see, the Indian Army has 3 large strike corps, and these are basically large formations that consist of about 90,000 soldiers. Until 2021, the 3 strike corps were predominantly oriented towards Pakistan. But after the Galwan clash, the army has reoriented the 1st strike corps along the northern sector, and this is really crucial. The change number 3 that has been effected is the creation of border infrastructure. The Indian government has given a renewed push towards the construction of new helipads, roads, tunnels and bridges along the LAC. Now, the aim is to assist the induction of large formations and armoured columns, and apart from the visible infrastructure, India is also building ammunition, depots and shelters to stock up on supplies for the brutal winters that are prevalent in these battlegrounds. Now, this was the Indian side of the story. What are the Chinese doing? Now, remember, there have been 18 rounds of core commander talks that have been held between India and China since the Galwan clash. They've yielded in some results, but still not enough has been done to renew confidence between the two nations. So what is the Chinese dragon up to? Officially, China says that things are returning to normal. This is what Global Times, the official mouthpiece of the Chinese administration, has been saying, that things are limping back to normalcy at the LAC. They say that there is almost no chance of the situation escalating further. But the Chinese president's statements tell a completely different story. Now, here's what Xi Jinping in fact said at the Communist Party's National Security Commission, a body that deals with national security strategy. Now, allow me to quote Xi Jinping, and this is what he said. We must adhere to bottom-line thinking and the worst-case scenario thinking and get ready to undergo the major tests of high winds and rough waves and even perilous stormy seas. So how are these words of Xi Jinping to be interpreted? What was he meaning? Was this Xi Jinping sounding the war bugle? Because it certainly looked like that. Because what has also been witnessed on the Chinese side of the LAC settles the matter. On one hand, China seems to be talking peace, but on the other, it is preparing for war. Satellite images have exposed the Chinese doublespeak, because along the line of actual control, instead of in fact trying to build confidence with India, what China appears to be doing is it has transformed the topography of the border areas. A report that has now appeared in the Chatham House, which is a British-based think tank, it has shown some satellite images. It shows us to have Chinese infrastructure, military infrastructure, mind you, has been ramped up in the last few years, ever since the Galwan clash. So what sort of infrastructure are we talking about here? Now, this is an extensive set of installations and also a comprehensive ecosystem to support troop deployments. This is what the Chinese are doing behind the curtain. They're building roads, outposts and weatherproof camps. They're building parking areas. They're building helipads and runways and airfields and railway lines and missile bases and missile silos along the LAC. So why does China want to talk peace but at the same time prepare for war? Now look at this image. It shows the Galwan Valley, the PLA standoff position to be precise. The Chinese bases here show signs of extended buildings. They now also have well-maintained road networks, one that could enhance China's capacity to send extra troops and supplies to its forward positions. The second image apparently shows a heliport in Aksai Chin. Now, this airport is currently under construction away from the front lines near the Aksai Chin Lake, and the facility reportedly comprises of at least about 18 hangars and several runways that are intended to be used by possible drones. The third image that will come up on your screens, it shows a bridge. And can you guess as to where this is being built? It is being built over the Pangong Tso. It's a saline lake that is strategically important for both India and China. This bridge will apparently help China in quick mobilization of troops. Such rapid mobility for the Chinese forces will, of course, strengthen their presence and the territorial claims in the region. Now, these were just 4 images. And besides this, there's also some significant Chinese activity at the Dipsang Plains, one of the key friction points in the Ladakh sector of the LAC. Now, here's the thing. India's actions along the LAC are strictly defensive, and India has made it clear to China that it respects China's territorial integrity and in turn wants China to do the same. India's defensive installations along the LAC are aimed at safeguarding its territorial integrity. But on the other hand, China's actions reek of warmongering and also the desire to escalate tensions at the border. Now, these satellite images, of course, expose China's obsession with muscle flexing and provocation. So the question is this. The Chinese dragon must answer. Even after 18 rounds of core commander level talks, why have things not been resolved yet? And more importantly, if China claims that things are getting back to normal along the line of actual control, then why is the People's Liberation Army quite clearly preparing for war over the Himalayan mountains? WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.